Extra time misery and clutch substitute performances. These, amongst many other moments, were emblematic of what was a set of edge of your seat semi final clashes to determine who would gain the privilege of making it to the final of this edition of the Euros. Welcome to Meet Pathion, and join me today as we will take a look and recap all the action that took place in the semi finals of the 2025 Women's Euros. The first encounter for a spot in the final came between holders England and dark horses Italy, who were definitely punching above their weight, and the latter were already at it from the very outset of this match. Without knowing the pedigree of either team, you honestly would have thought that the three Lionesses were the more inexperienced of the two teams, given how expertly the Italians were not only marshalling them, but also raining heavy fire down on Hannah Hampton. For their part, England were somewhat in the game when the opportunity arose, such as Russo's last effort in the 19th minute that just went wide. However, it would be the perseverance of the Italians that would be rewarded, with a cross from Cantore finding the waiting and unmarked Bonancia, who hit the roof of the net to give the Italians the lead. Come the second half, history would repeat itself somewhat, with England all of a sudden shifting out of second gear and finally playing in a manner that was befitting their expertise, and the match had new life breathed into it as a result. Both sides would be at each other's throats throughout the second 45, with a hailstorm of goals deserving to go in on either end, and right till the very last minute of the match, neither side's defense could breathe, with Italy on one hand coming close to doubling their lead had it not been for a Hampton double save. And on the other hand, it would be England who would need stoppage time and the substitute intervention of Arsenal's Chloe Kelly, and more importantly for this part, Michelle Aljamain, who was cool as could be to fire home the leveler amongst a sea of Italian defenders to force the game into extra time. And an Arsenal player would once again be caught up in the mix of the game's next big moment, with Beth Mead also coming off the bench, winning a penalty for England after being shoved and going down, in my view at least, a bit too easily, but the contact was enough for the referee to point to the spot, and from provider to scorer, Chloe Kelly would fire into the back of the net after the penalty rebounded to seal England's sensational comeback against a heartbroken and deflated Italy. With the Azzurres' efforts falling short at the penultimate hurdle, their Euros campaign overall has been nothing short of a success in spite of this loss. And for the national team, I think honestly, for them to go out on this kind of a cruel note makes you think, wonder, and hope that they will only continue to build on this and make themselves better down the road. Because the potential for success is there, and all that is needed for the team and nation as a whole to build off of the foundations are there. And so hopefully they will be back at such a big stage and at such a deep level with regards to how far they go in a competition. And with regards to the three Lionesses, flowers must go to Serena Wiegmann in abundance, and it's not just her ability to guide her team to their third consecutive cup final, but for her ability as a coach to adapt and overcome some of the odds that have been put in her path in the lead up and during this tournament. The manner in which he successfully managed to also defy the odds of trailing in these last two crunch games is also highly recommendable, and it will be interesting to see if the trick can be repeated just one more time by her side. 90 minutes till glory, potential glory that is, for England and Wiegmann. The penultimate game before the final took place between tournament favorite Spain and ever resilient Germany, with a bit of uncertainty with regards to which nation would come out on top in this clash. Throughout the game, Spain's inevitability would be met time and again by Germany's stubbornness, with Die Mannschaft not only taking play out of Sicilian's playbook in starting up the game for Spain, but also playing long and direct and winning the aerial duels 9 times out of 10 to test the resolve of Katakoi. On the other hand, Spain weren't finding much joy either, and it really wasn't for a lack of trying, but more because of the goalkeeping race from Berger once again, and some really good luck with the post coming in to save Germany's hide as well. As the game rolled on into the second half, more impetus was being shown by Spain to the point that Germany's approach relented and the latter resorted to pressure absorption before breaking into a counterattack when the opportunities would arise. and opportunities did indeed arise, especially for both sides, as both ends of the field saw the most glittering close attempts, especially coming from Germany, who came close to scoring some outrageous goals that would have sensationally sent them into the finals had it not been for some really minute overshooting and good goalkeeping from Katakoi, who had a double save of her own towards the end of the 90 to keep things level, which meant that, unfortunately, extra time was called upon to give us a winner in the hopes of avoiding penalties. And though fatigue had settled in to grind the game into an encounter of who blinks first, the players continued going at it, and in one instance, it can be argued that they went a bit too hard. Such is the unfortunate nature of the beasts. And this particular moment, which stood out the most, was of course the injury that was suffered by Kleinhern, who made a very brave and audacious tackle to keep her team in the game, but at the expense of her health and well-being as she overextended her leg and had to come off as a result. As with this recording, there hasn't been any news regarding her status, but hopefully it's not a serious injury for her. Returning to the game, Germany's ruggedness was eventually wearing off, and a momentary lapse in concentration would ultimately prove fatal as a turnover by Spain deep in the Germans' half would see Del Castillo finding the running charge of Bonmati, who squared the ball into the net with such cheek and panache to send the Spanish supporters, players and staff into a frenzy as the world champions secure their passage into the finals of the 2025 Euros. Playing up to their role of favorites, it will not come as much of a surprise to see Spain make it all the way to the final, given the sheer level of quality and technical brilliance at the disposal of La Roja. And there's not much else that can be said of the world champions that hasn't been said already. They're just that good, and they deserve to be where they are. And also, spare a thought for Germany, who, after coming back swinging from the honestly turgid group stage campaign, Die Mannschaft put in a shift and a half in their knockouts to really push and try to make the finals, but it just wasn't meant to be this time around. The team and manager must be commended for finding their rhythm throughout the tournament, and I dare to say that the team is starting to click, and just as time goes by, maybe, just maybe, the giant is finally starting to wake up proper. And with the final of the 2025 Euros now being set, all eyes turn to Sunday, where current holders England will take on world champion Spain to see who is the best team in Europe. And honestly, it's anyone's game to take, and it won't be long before we see who has what it takes to come out on top. And that is going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.